What's up, guys? Ajax back with another video, and you're probably thinking, what is this behemoth behind me, And this is my senior thesis I did about 4 years ago. So today I'm gonna kind of run you through the purpose of the work, why I did it. I had an assignment and everything. I'm gonna run you through the process, the step-by-step of what I did to get these graffiti tags and, all the writing in the back, what I did in what order. And then I also wanted to explain why I chose certain aspects, It's the Last Supper. Why did I choose the apostles with these symbols? Why did I choose these graffiti tags at the bottom? And then I wanted to go into my influences on this piece, kind of my inspiration for the piece in general, and then those that inspired my style. And I also wanted to explain, how this piece right here kind of, it really made me confident and more creative with my own style. It made me more independent of an artist, I guess. And I'm very happy to be sharing it with you guys today. So thank you for checking it out. And I guess let's get right into it. So yeah, the purpose of this piece. I went to a Catholic high school in my hometown, and we had to, for our senior year, complete either a senior research paper, a senior thesis, or a creative senior thesis, where in our respective art medium, we kind of create a large piece that outdoes anything we'd ever done before. And so, I had been working with graffiti and stuff before, so I wanted to do a kind of graffiti street art style of the Last Supper. The Last Supper because, Catholic school, the Last Supper is one of the most famous events, I would say, in Catholic canonology, I don't know, Catholic lore, I guess. And also because my grandma has this picture of the Last Supper that my family has been arguing over for years about who gets to keep it and whatnot. And I thought, this, it's not a cornerstone, but this little part of our family I can turn into something my own, with my own style that I had been learning, and also do it for a grade in class and assignment. So, it worked out well. The main inspiration for the Last Supper image used here was Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, one of the most famous paintings of all time. So yeah, that was the purpose of me choosing The Last Supper and me even making this piece in the first place. Alrighty, so next I wanted to talk about the process, kind of like the order of what I did things. I also had an experimentation process, kind of part of my style. So I started with sketching this out. I had pieces of paper with a bunch of different sketches in these areas. So I had one small piece of paper, probably about that big, and then a bunch of smaller pieces of paper on there that I could move around and organize. And then I would show that to my friends and family, and they would give me input on it. Oh, excuse my cat if you see him, by the way. I'm a very collaborative person. I like my works to not only be a reflection of myself, but also the people around me. And so that's why I like having input in the process. It's not necessarily about making sure it looks cool or not cool. It's not about making sure it looks pleasing. It's about making sure it looks unique and reflects our experiences. And then, so after I had that initial sketch done and I knew that I wanted to do this, I started with this background, just the cloth. I knew for this upper half, I wanted to do something more abstract for the background, for this coloring right here. And so I kind of just experimented, Pusha, out of there. I kind of just experimented again, sorry if he's messing with it. I experimented with just different colors, throwing it all on there, spraying water, using plaster, different consistencies of paint, and I actually really like the way it turned out. It looks really unique, really industrial or rustic, and also, again, like I said, abstract. I think that was awesome. And then I think the next step was all these words right here in the background. These are the Last Supper. So I wrote out all of the gospel passages pertaining to the Last Supper in the background, and they end right about here, I believe, on the background. But yeah, that was a task in itself. And they end like right here. You can see this is the end of the Mark the part of the Gospel of Mark about the Last Supper, and it ends and goes on to the next line. Yeah, and after I had that done, I then did these graffiti tags, and I went one by one, left to right on this side, right to left on this side. And, you know, I tried to choose, you know, different fonts for all of them to make it, you know, unique, like walking down a city street or something like that. So after the graffiti tags were done, I did this entire section right here. I painted it all white at first so I could go over top with what I wanted to add. And then I believe I started adding these piece by piece. They're the apostles, the 12 disciples. I'll go more into why they were represented that way. But yeah, I just did them one by one, going this way. I did the color, and then I did the icons, and then I moved to the next one. And after I was done with those, I did the outline of the background to kind of build the room. You know, before it was just color, and I wanted to build it out like the actual room that the Last Supper was in. So I did that with the outline. And then I also added these windows and went over the background that I had covered with a different colored Sharpie to make sure the text just also still showed through. And yeah, the final things I added to this piece were the Jesus in the middle right here. The table was also last. I had to go over all of these two to kind of mark the cover the inconsistencies in between. And then after those two, I did, these two windows, the Statue of Liberty and the St. Louis Arch. And that was kind of my process. I did this both outside my mother's house and inside her house, as well as the studio art room that we had at our school. And yeah, I was very happy with how it turned out at the end. And so the next thing I wanted to talk about was why I chose certain aspects of this piece, I guess. And I'll just go top to bottom. So for the text, I didn't really know how, I like using text in my work. I'll explain why later, but I wanted to incorporate words that relate back to the subject matter of the Last Supper, and I thought the gospel passages were awesome for that, and it really fills the area, makes it look varied. I like that a lot. For the windows, I chose the St. Louis Arch and the Statue of Liberty to kind of represent the far-reaching, or the how far God's love for us, or Jesus's love for us, how far it extends in our world. But if I were to redo it today, I would obviously choose landmarks that are farther apart. I mean, unless you go all the way around the world, then that's pretty far apart, but whatever. Then I had those, and the windows I added, it really just, again, helps build out the room. It shows texture, and this part right here, like the buildings in the middle that extend into the New York skyline and the St. Louis skyline, they kind of tie those two images in together to really get that point across, that there is something connected between them, that being God's love. Wow. So after that, for these apostles, I chose symbols that, represent them. I honestly can't remember a lot of them at the time. I could probably grab a couple pieces of paper that told me if I needed to, but this was like, Bartholomew was, I believe, kind of crazy to say. I should probably bleep that. But then that was also the dagger used to do that. Yeah, so these symbols really reflect what they did for work, I guess. Their evangelical work, their martyrdom, and also sometimes their sainthood. It was a plethora of stuff, like fishermen for Peter. There we go. That's one I remember. So yeah, that was why I chose the symbols for them. For this Jesus, it's rather simple. I'm not really a complex or realistic person, as you can tell with my art. So I kind of was like testing myself to see how far I could go and still make this figure in the middle represented as Jesus. Originally, I had a smiley face in the back. That's what this is, but I was told to take that away because that's probably sacrilege, and it probably is. I really don't know. I just thought it was cool, and again, it really was showing that that smiley face could have been Jesus. But instead, I just made a really simple figure with, you know, a beard, a crown, hair, something anyone would recognize as Jesus. So I went with something really simple, like the hair, the beard, the crown, and I changed up the suit. I added a suit because Jesus wouldn't be wearing a suit, so it kind of like extends that reach, shows that this figure, this could just be a hippie dude that got dressed up for dinner, but he's Jesus because he's in this context. The tablecloth, you know, obviously in the Last Supper, Jesus and the 12 disciples, they didn't eat on no checkered tablecloth, like a picnic tablecloth, but I chose to represent it that way because it's kind of like an American like little touchstone, really recognizable to anyone that grew up in American culture. Again, the picnic cloth, it's used as a tablecloth in a bunch of small diners and a bunch of small steakhouses, you know, just really recognizable with today and not with the time this piece actually would have taken place in, you know, 0 AD, or I guess it would have been like 30. And because I had been working with graffiti work, and because I had been working to see how ambiguous I could make this piece, I decided I would use these graffiti tags at the bottom. Originally, I don't think they had any intention of clearing up the ambiguity, but now they do, which is awesome because I would not have known who any of these were anymore. It's been a very long time. But you know, we got Bartholomew, James, Andrew, Peter, Judas, John, Thomas, James, Philip, Jude, Matthew, and Simon. So yeah, and I think for all of these, as well as the backgrounds up here, I tried to choose colors that would remain consistent, like, you know, the colors that they are most commonly associated with, I guess. And for this final thing I wanted to point out on here and why I chose to do it, it would be this part right here. It's not necessarily a graffiti tag, it's more like a plank of wood I designed with some text on top of it, and it just says, I can't read it, it's in Latin. I do know what it means. It means Jesus Christ, King of the Jews, and it was mocking him back in the day when the Romans crucified him. They put that on there because they thought he was lying about being King of the Jews. So yeah, that was why I chose each of these aspects, and hope you thought that was interesting. So for the influences of this piece, I had been introduced to an artist, Jean-Michel Basquiat, I believe is his name. Hopefully I'm not pronouncing that wrong. But yeah, he did a lot of like modern graffiti, contemporary street art in New York in the 70s, and I can't remember. I think he probably passed away in the
80s.
I think it was the
80s.
But yeah, he used a lot of color blocks, a lot of text, a lot of symbols in his work, and he was very ambiguous with what he was representing. Again, that was kind of like one of my points here: stretch my ambiguity, see how much I can do without accurately representing it. He was also a graffiti artist when he started Samo. He was doing some of that stuff. That's kind of where this comes from. It wasn't really graffiti like these big tags. It was more just phrases written on New York walls. The graffiti tags, those, you know, just inspired by street art and inspired by, you know, the work I had done in art class and graffiti. Probably if you've checked out my Instagram, something you've seen on there. Yeah, I think that's really all I need to talk about style-wise because, oh, and of course, don't forget Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. Again, that is like the whole framework for how this painting is structured. It laid out what was gonna be where for me. And yeah. And finally, I wanted to talk about how this piece of art changed my style as a whole. And, you know, some problems I have with it, some things that I would change. I hope to do a redux of this, kind of change it up a little bit, but I wanted to document this before I did any of it. So, yeah, going forward, text has become a like crazy important part of my art. Even when I use text just to kind of guide where I'm gonna paint. When I first start a piece of art, I start with just writing text on it. It varies up the piece. It adds color when I don't intentionally want it, which is awesome because I like this kind of controlled, chaotic energy. It also can say a lot without actually like being a focal point of the piece. You know what I mean? You're looking at this, you're looking at Jesus, and you're looking at the graffiti tags. I think the last thing you would probably look at would be this art, or these words up here, this text. But it still ties the picture or the painting together, in my opinion. I still really think it's an important choice. And with some of my future works, I hope to work to make the text more impactful, I guess, not just tie it together, but actually also say something meaningful as well. Yeah, symbols. Again, I don't really ever anymore represent anything accurately. At least I try not to. I try to avoid it. I try to see how far I can get while actually still leaving some semblance of my original inspiration. So yeah, symbols are a big part of my thing, except they're not necessarily like symbols like this anymore, like this person was a carpenter. It's more symbols like I draw a scary face and it means a nightmare or something, you know, it's stuff like that. Iconography, you know, using like the checkered tablecloth, using something that everyone would know. I like to do that in my work as well. I like to incorporate things that are recognizable a lot less frequently than I do the abstract. And yeah, speaking of the abstract, this abstract background, I do this type of process with most of my works from this point. Obviously not to like in the same way I did this one, but I do still do an abstract process to start my works, like from this point on. I think this art was what really solidified me doing that. Obviously I had done some of it on earlier pieces you've seen on my Instagram, but this, I really like the way this turned out. Things I would do differently, if I were to do it, I would have these symbols and everything. I would have them fill up this whole bubble, this entire bubble. I like to fill up space and make things that don't necessarily geometrically fit together. I like to cram them and make them fit together. So that's how I would redo that. Again, I would do the smiley face here for Jesus. Maybe even get rid of this. Maybe even just do like a stick figure or something. Maybe just put a skull on it or something. I don't know. I would not have a white man as Jesus, just because Jesus was from the Middle East. You know, let's clear that up. The graffiti tags, I like them. I think another big thing that I would do differently is that I would choose different materials. You know, you might not be able to see it from the camera, but like stuff's just rubbing off and coming off together. And I mean, when I do my redux, I can fix that, but this is a piece that doesn't really stay out all the time. It's massive. It's, I think it's 6 foot by 10 foot, 9 foot by 10 foot. I'll have to measure it in a little bit, but yeah, it's massive. And it's not ever really displayed anywhere, so it gets folded up and creased. You can see some of that here, and that's why all this is cracked. So I'd probably do it on something either a little bit smaller or something more robust with more robust materials. But yeah, that was one of my favorite pieces I've done in my time as an artist, and I hope you guys enjoyed checking it out with me. If you are interested in seeing any more art I'm going to be posting, go ahead, check me out on Instagram. It will be in the link in the description and also in my bio, super easy to find. Yeah, and I should be posting some more content coming up here soon. I plan some videos with some friends, got some Minecraft videos again. I want to be putting out some music by the end of the year. So yeah, just stay tuned. I appreciate you guys. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, especially because I will be posting more of this content as well, if you find it very interesting. Awesome. Alrighty guys, take it easy.